We're theme park families.
Theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Won't you join us now?
We're theme park families.
Thanks for joining us, we aim to please.
If roller coasters got you weak in the knees,
We're theme park families.
if you wanna find the best dessert or
Take a potty break with privacy,
find a coaster that is tame for little ones,
or one to make you scream.
we're theme park families.
Everybody's ready, babies.
Rescuing you all from life's luxuries.
We're theme park families.
We're theme park families.
Press the space bar to get it.
Did you hear that?
Uh-oh.
I don't think that was the neighbor's dog, Fluffy.
What?
Oh boy, that must mean it's Halloween time.
Uh-oh.
I'm Adam,
And I'm Andrew.
and all the Halloween events are now in full swing. And we're hoping to get to a few events, right?
Yeah, that would be fun.
What do you think? Where do you want to get to this year?
I want to get to a few haunts that sound pretty good, like maybe the one at Cedar Point sounds pretty good. And I don't know, we'll see what else.
Yeah, we have numerous possibilities about the different Cedar Fair haunts, so hopefully we'll get to a few of them. We actually went last night to Darien Lake for the first time with our Six Flags passes, but we had Maddie with us, so we didn't do any of the houses. But I give them credit for only having about 3 months preparation, since I don't think Darien Lake did any haunts when they were in Six Flags. I thought they did a pretty good job with the atmosphere and the scare actors we saw.
Yeah, I'd say they could do better in the future because they would have more time.
Mhm.
But for their first year, it was good for what it was.
4 scare zones and 4 houses? Is that what it was?
4 scare zones and 3 houses.
And 3 houses, yeah. So it was pretty limited, but they were offering pretty good bargains for if you wanted to do it. It was like $10 a house, but then if you wanted to just purchase all season haunt,
It was $35.
$35. But we had Maddie with us. Even going through some of the scare zones was a little bit much for Maddie. There was one guy in particular, a werewolf, maybe the one we just heard, who freaked her out a little bit, but she handled it pretty well. We were only there for about an hour and a half into haunt, but it's a nice park and I look forward to its future, and I think it could really become a lot more special if they add a lot more to it. Well, it of course pales in comparison with what we've heard from many reviewers about Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. And we've had a number of friends, including Brian and Tim from the Civil Gore podcast that we've mentioned before, where they focus on horror movies. And they were just there last week, partially escaping from Hurricane Florence, but they had it planned all along. And we just listened to that episode. And if you're into haunts and want to hear about it, and I know a number of podcasts do this, but they did such a great job of sharing their lists and what they thought of the whole event. And based on listening to that episode, what do you think of Halloween Horror
I'm
Nights?
jealous now, because when we listen to it, it just sounds so cool with all those unique sets and how much it blows away all of the regional parks. So I'm a little jealous. I wish we could go.
Yeah, I love it with that comparison of the worst house at Universal is still way better than the best house at any regional park.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of that is budget. You have to keep that in mind. They have
Yeah.
so much money that they can spend. It was even to the point where we're jokingly, sort of not jokingly, looking at how much tickets cost, because it'd be so great to get down there, but there's just not enough time with school just starting back and not having really any vacations here. But there are so many houses there that sound so cool. Just off the top of your head, which are some of the ones that really interested you the most?
Well, I would love to do the Stranger Things one.
As we're about, halfway through season 2, something
Yeah.
like that, so.
The Poltergeist one.
Oh, sounded so amazing. Just so creative, so different.
I'd love to do the Scary Tales one.
Oh, yeah. That sounded amazing.
And what was their number one
The
on
cinema.
the non-IP?
Yeah, the Scary Cinema one,
Scary Cinema.
whatever exactly that one was called.
Yeah, and then I kind of want to try the Seeds of Extinction one, because, like, even though they said that it was one of the most scariest things, I don't know how they would fit costumes into things that look unrealistic.
That's the interesting thing. And with Mom being a greenhouse engineer at Cornell, that's what she kind of does. That would be interesting to go there and see how they incorporate maybe some real plant life into the fake plant life. And yeah, that sounds like such a cool thing. So almost all the houses sounded amazing. So jealous of everyone being able to get out there. On the downside though, as amazing as that event sounds, it's really sad to hear about some horrible things happening, like some major fights at Valley Fair that have occurred. Taylor from Coaster Studios posted a fight that he recorded at Kings Island that he reported. Now he's not going to show it on his website, but he reported it so that the appropriate people could be thrown out. So it's kind of sad, and I wonder, is it because it's a scary event? Is it because there's too many teenagers? Or is alcohol part of it? I don't know. There are so many different issues. And we've heard stories, right, about scare actors who kind of get attacked, maybe not necessarily intentionally, but out of fear. And so it's just sad when you hear any negativity, because these events just seem like they should be the coolest thing. So it's kind of a shame that those kind of things are happening. So we'll be reporting on what haunts we do get to, and excited to hear about some of the haunts that you guys maybe will be getting to. But on this episode, we're not going to focus on Halloween, but we'll be discussing some of our experience with Holiday World this year, including a very special moment from only a few weeks ago. But first, let's get some news.
If not riding coasters will give you the blues, it's Andrews. For this episode, we just wanted to talk briefly about the 2018 Golden Ticket Awards. On our next episode, we will be discussing Copperhead Strike, Kentucky Kingdom's Game, and Kings Island's Lost.
And that's kind of interesting because I don't know if you saw it, but they did a little teaser saying to keep an eye like a hawk on our feed. So tonight, as we're recording on Sunday, Kentucky Kingdom is announcing their new edition, but a lot of people are speculating, might Kings Island's loss of them losing their Firehawk, that they're getting rid of their Vekoma Flying Dutchman, going to be done after Haunt. A lot of people thinking, is Kentucky Kingdom going to get it? But a lot of people are speculating they're too much of a mechanical nightmare for them to actually get that. But I don't know, have you heard that yet? Did you know Firehawk was going?
Yeah, you told me
about
a couple weeks ago.
So it was just a couple of days ago we found
Wow.
out. And the sad thing about that is there are only 3 of them, and you really liked that one that we did at Carowinds.
Yeah,
But
I liked it.
and unfortunately, Six Flags America's, as we reported on our last episode, that Batwing's not doing too well either. So who knows, this could be the beginning of the demise of all of the Flying Dutchmen in America. Alright, so let's take a look at some of the winners. Amazing some of the reaction online of the 2018 Golden Ticket Awards, of a lot of people getting very emotionally involved here with the winners. So let's take a look at some of the winners here. We'll just go through these quickly and talk about some of the ones that we think are interesting. Best Amusement Park, once again, Europa Park is the winner. I'm sure Cedar Point is hoping in the next couple of years with their latest additions that they'll get that title back. Best Water Park, Schlitterbahn at New Braunfels, Texas. Now that's interesting because on our trip that we've been discussing, that we headed down south, one of our hotels we stayed at was at New Braunfels, but we didn't even see the water park. We had to go down to Fiesta, Texas that day. But if we pass that way again, we might have to stop there, as that is a very highly rated water park. So that's kind of interesting. Best Children's Park, Idlewild in Pennsylvania, where they had their roller coaster that was closed for a year after the one kid fell out and was injured. So that's a park that especially now that that coaster is open, we've got to get there at some point. That's not too far from us, and since that's so highly rated, we've got to get there, right? Best Marine Park, SeaWorld in Orlando.
Like, I don't get that category because isn't SeaWorld like gonna win pretty much every time?
No, there's like 10,422 marine life parks, I think. It's a very competitive category. That's a brilliant point. There's that one near Niagara Falls that has like one minnow and a beluga whale and a couple of rides that the owner just passed away. That one is maybe one of the other competitions. You've got SeaWorld, San Diego, San Antonio, Orlando, and Beluga World I think that's the four who are competing against each other. So, yeah, you're right. SeaWorld seems to have a monopoly on that one. All right, best seaside park, Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, which hopefully we'll get to in the next couple of years, out in the California shore. We've got best wooden coaster, Phoenix and Knoebels. Now, a lot of people online were, ooh, you're joining them. I was just about to say, a lot of people online were flipping out when this was announced. Now, why are you saying really?
Voyage is better.
Better is such a weird word. So what you're saying is you enjoy the voyage more, right?
No, it's better.
You get more.
Better.
Better is such a tough word because it's all completely subjective. It's whatever you think.
No.
And so, but as you know, this winter seems to change all the time, right? El Toro last year, we had Boulder Dash before that. And so it's kind of on this rotation. So while you say it's better, they're all
better.
Wow, that
It is,
airtime
though.
is so unique. And not having a seatbelt on,
but-
it makes everyone laugh. Everyone loves that coaster.
But still, like when you go to Holiwood Nights, like, and the brakes are off and it's pitch black and you're back in the woods, it's so intense without the brakes. And
I'm not going to be one to argue the point on that, but wouldn't you agree that for some people, the voyage might be too much?
for some people.
Right? For Grandma Sue from Little Rock, Arkansas, who's 72 and a little bit nervous, you think Grandma Sue's going to handle the voyage at night?
Possibly.
Possibly. Well, I don't know about that. So it's different styles for different people, and Ace has a rotation of best wooden coasters, and you're not going to say that you can't even imagine how it won, right? It's not to that level. You still admit it's a great wooden coaster.
But I think that Voyage is a better wooden coaster.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've got a first drop that's well under 100 feet, so in that way it's not overwhelming or intense. But that return run to the brakes, that whole final run, is just deliriously fun and silly, and not having seatbelts and those restraints are so incredible that there's no other experience like it. And so for that reason, it deserves it for a year. That they maintain it so well. The crew is usually great. That third row is special. And there's no other ride like it. So I have no problem with it winning this year. Now, if it won every year, I would say, that seems a bit strange. But for 1 year, I'm fine with it getting that award. Best steel coaster, Ken Fury, of course. Best kids area, like every year, Kings Island. And they have the most rides, but again, I don't know if I'd say it's the nicest area of any of the kids areas, but okay. Now, this is the one of all that I have the biggest problem with. This is the one that I find disturbing and completely not deserved. And not that it's not this, but it's because of one other park. So, Friendliest Park, Dollywood, who has seemed to have won a number of years now in a row. Now, employees are great, but Friendliest Park, not in your life. We had a couple experiences there, including, is it the Sidewinder? Is that what that's called? That water ride? And we had one experience where we rode the one side and then we went back up and wanted to do the other, and that guy in the rotation, the other side was up again, and so we just said, can we wait and do the other? And he was so mad, like, oh, you're supposed to go on this one, and he was really rude. That was one example that I have. The other was Mystery Mine, where it was one of our first times doing it. There was zero line at all, and both of you guys, you and Alec and I, went up, and there was no line at all, and we really wanted to get a front row ride so you guys could see, because you're a little vertically challenged. And they wouldn't let us wait another train. There were people already on the front row, and we had to go into the back row. They wouldn't let us wait. And they were pretty rude about it, that those are the rules, and if you don't like it, you can walk. You know, they were kind of nasty about it. And so in terms of Friendliest Park, we have never had one situation where anyone at Holiday World wasn't the sweetest, best, kindest employee, giving us the best service ever. And so, not to sound biased at all, because we try to have an open mind, not to put words in your mouth, but would you agree?
Yes.
Holiday World should win that?
Yeah, every year it should.
That's silly to me.
Yeah, I think the top three are Dollywood, Silver Dollar City, and Holiday World.
Which is fitting. Silver Dollar City and Dollywood are from the same company, so that makes a lot of sense. And I would say Silver Dollar City definitely should be second, and Dollywood a distant third behind that. But otherwise, why Holiday World doesn't win Friendliest? And Ace, a lot of people who would vote in the golden tickets knows Holiday World really well, so that part just seems a little strange to me. Cleanest Park, Holiday World won again, and well deserved. Best Halloween event, of course, Halloween Horror Nights.
I really
At
wanna
Universal.
get there.
I know, we do too. A park that we love just being looking at it, it makes sense that they win Best Landscaping for Busch Gardens Williamsburg, so that is very well deserved. Christmas event at Dollywood. Best food, Knobles, which,
we never,
fine, I don't know.
We never thought it was great. I mean, I love the food at Super Dollar City, especially that one, like, taco thing with the soft shell.
Yeah. The
That's
fry bread, right, that we talked about.
That was great.
It's fine. I just don't think it's completely out of this world, but I have no problem with that. Best show is Dollywood, which is funny since we've been there 3 times and never saw a show. Just because
we saw like 3 minutes of a hawk show.
the bird show that they have there, yeah. But I don't even think that's what they mean. They mean more the entertainment, the singers and dancers and all that.
But we've never seen we've seen the show times, but I don't think any of the days that we were there, they were doing the show.
Oh, they do them every day, yeah. But it's just that a lot of times you have to get in line early and wait, and we just rather ride coasters. But at some point, if we go there for a couple days again in the future, we'll definitely do that. Best water ride, Valhalla at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which all of our friends, including Dan and Beardman and Ann Sue, said it was pretty incredible when they went to Blackpool. Best water park ride, Wildebeest at Holiday World.
I agree.
And you agree? Yeah.
Wildebeest's better than Mammoth.
Yeah, I'm there as well. I agree.
Because you get airtime.
You get airtime. And
That's the only water ride or water slide of its type that I've experienced airtime. None other water slide have I experienced airtime.
And I agree. The one problem is I have one negative about Wildebeest and Mammoth.
So it doesn't matter.
No. Here's the one huge negative. Here's the problem. They are so good that any other water ride you go on stinks.
So
It's true. They're all so boring comparatively.
yeah, I guess.
So
but
that's not their fault. That's just how good those are. Best dark ride, Tower of Terror. Hopefully we'll do at some point. Best new ride, not really much of a shocker, huh?
nah.
Seal Vengeance, yeah. Even though Time Traveler should get like honorable mention, it was so good. Best water park ride, the Ray Rush at Aquatica in Orlando, Florida.
What?
That's crazy, right? That was good.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a wow. Best carousel at Knobles.
Yeah, well,
Grabbing the
I
brass
feel
ring.
like all of the carousels are the same,
No, but brass ring.
but that's the one difference.
And you've been on that, and I never did. I've never been on that.
Actually, you have.
No, when you went on it, I was watching Maddie that year. So I've never been on it. Were you able to reach the rings when you went on it?
I had to pretty much stand up on the horse.
Yeah, stand up, tippy toes on the horse's head and just reach over and hope to not fall off.
I had to reach over with my left arm and hold onto the pole with my right arm, and then I was just standing on the horse with one foot.
And that's where I remember now. I used the duct tape that Slater gave us so that you don't fall out of roller coasters anymore. So that you wouldn't fall off. Best indoor roller coaster, Revenge of the Mummy, which, like so many of these, hopefully we'll do here soon. And Best Fun House, Noah's Ark at Kennywood. Are you fine with that award? We really like Noah's Ark whenever we go there, right? You don't seem to be talking. This is a podcast
Yay!
where we talk. Then to go into just looking quickly at some of the top 50 wooden steel. And it's that top 6 or 7 or 8 that we say, of course, it all makes sense, and any of those really in the top 10 could be number ones. That Phoenix for this year, El Toro, number 1 last year. Voyage to me at number 3 is fine being in the top 10. I thought with the retracking,
It's not the best wooden coaster.
it's their favorite for this year. And I thought with the retracking that Voyage had last year, that absolutely Voyage could have been number 1 this year, since it was such a enhanced ride experience this year with all that retracking. Boulder Dash goes from number 1 a couple years ago to number 4. Beast at number 5. Again, nostalgia is a huge part of this. I don't think I'd necessarily rate it that high, but it is a huge part of history, and people love their night rides on it, so number 5, that's fine. Number 6, Lightning Rod, which makes a lot of people angry just for the fact that it's almost never open anymore.
Number 7 is Outlaw Run.
Another great experience. And interesting, 6 Lightning Rods have an Outlaw Run. They share so many similar characteristics.
Number 8 is Ravine Fire 2, which, I mean...
A night ride, when it's moving really fast, I could see.
But
I
when
could see
we
it.
did it, it was good, but it wasn't all we hoped for.
Yeah, Gold Striker and Ghost Rider are pretty high up there in California. That it hopefully will eventually do. Interesting that Thunderhead, they still have it number 10, considering a lot of people are starting to complain about how rattly it is. But I like it a lot, and I have no problem with that. Then looking through, I just thought it was interesting to look at what is number 50. You see what's 50th on the list?
Twister.
Yeah, Twister Knobles, which is just funny when you look at the bookend of 1 through 50 that you've got number 1 with Phoenix and number 50 at Twister. And funny enough, I like Twister better there. I enjoy its intensity more, and I adore Phoenix, and don't get me wrong there. But I just love Twister's intensity and the 2 lift hills, so I think that's kind of cool.
While you were scrolling down, I saw flying turns.
Oh, yeah. So let's scroll back up and see where that was.
Number 34. There it is.
Okay. Interesting, number 34, flying turns. And why is that noteworthy to you?
I mean, yes, it is built out of wood, but it's not a traditional wooden coaster.
Well, yeah.
Weird.
The fact that it's not on rails definitely makes that kind of interesting and weird. Just looking at other coasters around it, number 32 with Comet at Great Escape to us is...
Ooh.
It's still at this point my least favorite coaster of all time. From 3 years ago now when we did it our first year in theme parks.
Twister's better than that.
Well, that's the thing. Now, 3 years later, it might be way smoother. Those horrible potholes in their triangular wheels might be gone, and it might be a much better ride now.
Yeah.
But that's just funny to see it like that. An interesting list, and I think there aren't too many there that I'd say, oh, that's shocking or anything like that. Just to look quickly at the 50 steel coasters. Number 1, we have Fury. Not a surprise that they maintain that spot. Number 2, does that surprise you?
Yes and no, because
With 2 and 3?
I like Millennium Force better. Well, kind of. And then Steel Vengeance.
Millennium Force better than what?
Steel Vengeance.
So you like Millennium Force better than Steel Vengeance?
Kind of.
Yeah, they're very different rides. Very cool with Cedar Point having number 2 and number 3 there. And it'll be interesting to see whether next year is the year that Steel Vengeance might jump both of them.
Yeah.
It's hard to see it keeping that number 3 spot, although a lot of people might just out of nostalgia and historical importance keep Millennium Force ahead of it. That'll be interesting to see. Expedition G-Force in Germany, number 4. Superman in New England, which you'll definitely get to do next year at number 5. We were just chatting about that. Apollo's at number 6. Now, we'll talk about our Busch Gardens Williamsburg visit, but I don't know now if we would agree that it should be that high.
Nah.
Right? It lost a little bit of that intensity for us. It might just have been a slow day.
Well, yeah, because we did it in the morning.
Yep.
So...
That's absolutely possible. Iron Rattler 7 that we'll be chatting about in our next episode after that. Leviathan, which she'll do next year at number 8. Maverick at 9. And then Diamondback at number 10.
I think Maverick should be higher.
Yeah, and I think most people would say that because most enthusiasts would say Maverick is either their first or second favorite with Steel Vengeance. So I think a lot would say that.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Diamondback and Nitro at 10 or 11. Loader Air lovers putting them there. And then I know Slater would be unhappy with Intimidator 305 being at 12 behind those. Phantom's Revenge at 13. And interesting, what's number 14 there? How do you feel about number 14?
I think, I don't know if that should be there. I don't think that should be there.
Magnum shouldn't be that high, I think.
It should be like 40.
Well, and again, this is where nostalgia comes in. Historical importance as the first hypercoaster to hit that 200-foot mark, and a lot of people love Cedar Point, and so this is where it's all subjective what people like. For some people, it is very painful to them, and for others, they absolutely adore it. Now, where do we find Sky Rush? Yeah, number 30. And to me, that's certainly way down on the list, and I would certainly put it a lot higher. To look at this and see all of these coasters here, it just goes to show you how it's all completely subjective, and people look at this list and get outraged, like, how dare they put it there? But different people like different things in a coaster, so...
Like Expedition Everest is 46?
Yeah. How much of that is just loving that theme? I really don't have any kind of problem with this list, and just knowing that there are different reasons people vote for different things that they do.
Yeah.
We're so lucky to have met so many great people in the theme park world over these 4 short years. There are so many that we have mentioned who are great fans and are not connected to the industry, and plenty in our short year and a half of having our podcast that are connected to the industry through Coaster Radio, In the Loop, Ride This One, CoasterNet Uncut, Coaster Studios, and others and online connections. We've made so many really cool people who just love this hobby. We're also so happy to have our great connections with the good folks at Hollywood and had 2 very different interactions with them this year. So So we'd like to discuss them both. Holiwood Nights was amazing again this year, and on last year's episode about Holiwood Nights, we discussed it in great detail about all the different things we did. So we'll just look at some highlights from this year. The theme was Coastershack, as they follow a movie theme each year. And I thought that was a pretty cool one for us since we like playing golf, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty sweet. Although you still haven't seen the movie, but it's sort of adult themed, so and maybe at some point. And at the opening ceremony, loved it, where Lauren and Leah, do you remember what they did on the stage?
Yeah, they sang a song that they made up. Well, I think it was already a song.
Yes.
It was a cover.
Exactly, so it was a
Yeah.
parody of I'm Alright, and it was really well done. For the chorus, they replaced the words with Ride tonight, voyage is running trim free. And they were so fun and silly doing it, including missing the cue on the first time. They're like, all right, well, just run it again. And they played the music over. And they said they wrote the lyrics that day. It was just a great kickoff to the event, having the owners just being silly and singing. And they both have backgrounds in music, so that was kind of cool. And I loved it. So many cool touches, like the lanyards were from a fake country club. And they had your name on them and the town that you were from. And the golf-themed food that they had in the first
Yes.
night. What do you remember any of them?
Especially, there was like a cupcake thing that
Yeah.
was like a real golf ball, and it was so good.
And do you remember what they were held by?
A tea.
Yeah, they were on like real teas, so they were baked on there. So that was so cool. I think they had like birdie wings as well. Their chicken wings that they had. And just so many other cool golf themes for their food. Just such a nice little touch going that extra step. Well, the incredible difference between this year and last, and we kind of touched on before, was the amount of work done on two of the wooden coasters. And which two really were different this year?
So the things that were redone were Voyage
Yep.
and Raven.
Okay, and Raven, that lake turn, what a difference.
Oh my
that
gosh, yes.
that lake turn, which it was fun last year, but it was kind of holding on and chattering a little bit, but it was so smooth this year, and it made that ride incredible. What a big difference that did. Now the Voyage, it was all from the tunnel with the triple down, that whole return trip, and did you really notice how big of a difference it was?
Yeah, I did, because last year when we did it, it was very jerky and a little bit uncomfortable. But this year, it was a lot better. You could tell the difference.
And funny, now after all that work done, I would say the Legend is the coaster that has the most character to it, if you want to put it that way. That in some ways that was the hardest coaster to marathon this past year. And so I think this year the Voyage was fairly easy to marathon it and ride it over and over and over again compared to previous years.
I completely disagree.
That it was not easier on the Voyage than last year?
Yes, because, well, I just think it was kind of hard to marathon it because it was so intense.
Well, yes, of course it is. I'm just saying it was easier than last year.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
All right. So
But I
you'll agree
felt
with that.
more forces this year than last year.
It's interesting, speaking of forces, because even after doing them last year, and boy, we rode those three coasters a lot last year, nothing prepares you for how intense they are again. And I have a feeling every single year we go back, it's still such a crazy different experience. There's truly no other coasters that come close. Boulder Dash gives you a little bit of that feel, but in terms of intensity and just a feeling of being speechless at the end, right? No other coasters come close.
No, not really.
It feels like so much more than a roller coaster. I rode a roller coaster. It's an experience. It's a shared group, common, fun, survival, unique experience. And even if we were members there and lived in Indiana, which sometimes I wish we did, just for that park alone, I think it would never get old riding those three coasters. And, well, you could say four, certainly with Thunderbird, the best wing coaster in America as well. But I don't think it would ever get old, right?
No, never.
On that second night, the Water Cup Challenge night, we were delayed. Do you remember why we were delayed for like an hour?
Yeah, because there were thunderstorms.
Yeah, even though they never quite got to Holiday World, they were
Yeah,
sort
they
of in the
were-
area.
They were in the area, we could see them, but they weren't anywhere close.
Yeah, we didn't actually get any of the rain there. So we had that little bit of a delay, and it was great. I had a chance to talk with Matt for a long
Yeah.
time there, and it was so cool hearing about his kids and his daughter, who is the field goal kicker on the football team. Did you know that?
No.
I don't know if I told you that story. And I saw a post that Matt put online, Matt Ecker, the president of Holiday World, and his daughter kicked a field goal in the first game and posted a video of it and was so proud of her. And that takes a lot of courage. She had a soccer background, and the fact that she's a girl playing on a boys football team is so cool. And also his son Drew, who's your age, who
Yeah.
has his own YouTube channel. I think maybe some Fortnite on there, possibly, he was saying. The Water Cup Challenge this year, you weren't as successful as last year, but that's because there was a rookie on your team who came back absolutely soaked this year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take care of the team next year. I'm going to help you out. I'll be on your team, and then we'll get 2 others.
It can be me, Chris, and you.
Well, 4 people, right?
No. Well, this year they did it a little bit different.
Oh,
so
that it
you
was...
could have 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
or 4 people on your team. But when you came back, if you had 4 people, you do your score divided by 4. But it would be the same thing if you had 3 people, your score divided by 3. If you had 2 people, your score divided by 2.
Ooh, you can do 2?
Yeah.
Just you and I. Just you and I. Sharing... Okay. We'll do it, dude, because I know the trick.
But Chris is really good too.
Is he? Yeah?
He came back with a full cup.
Okay, then we can trust Chris too. All right, the 3 of us then, and we'll dominate again. Well, the best part of that night for me, since especially you didn't win, was our night ride on Voyage after the Water Cup Challenge. Do you remember, why that was so
yeah.
special?
Because when you were going up that lift hill and when you were going into the woods, off to the right, you could see the lightning flashing, and it's so cool.
What a great backdrop, exactly. Since it's so pitch black back there in the woods, and just having that lightning go off, it was so incredible and so memorable. So that was pretty awesome. But really, the coasters, the rides, the ERT, the food, all of that is awesome. But it's always really about the people. And you mentioned Chris from Columbus, and we actually, as we talked about last episode, every time we go west, we tend to stop in Columbus. So we stayed with him the night before. Always great to hang out with Chris and his family. And then he drove with us to Holiday World.
Yep.
And so we got to spend a lot of great time with him. Oh, well, that brings us to our tip of the day. Alex, sing it, and we'll just do that early.
Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Tip of the day, tip of the day. It's the tip of the day. Yeah.
Our tip of the day for this episode is what Chris brought with him for that return trip. Because return trips always feel so much longer.
Yeah.
For any of you who go on coaster trips, you know, you drive there, it feels like 30 seconds. Driving back, especially after being tired and staying up late, the drive back feels like it's 7.5 years. So what did Chris bring for that return trip for you guys?
He brought us like
Whoa,
a jelly.
Come on, hook us up with correct round.
Shut up!
He
brought us
Yeah.
a bag of jelly beans.
And then what game were you guys playing?
We were playing try to guess the jelly bean, where you would pick out a jelly bean from the little bag, and then you would have to close our eyes and we'd eat it, but we wouldn't know which one, and we had to guess by the flavor.
And that was Jelly Belly, right?
Yeah, jelly belly.
And it was one of the big bags, so it had, I don't even know,
It had a bunch.
70, 80 flavors, so it was really cool. And that was a great way to
Yeah.
spend that time. So he said he did that with his kids when they were little on long trips, so what great advice. Loved it. I'd highly recommend that. It was also great to have a healthy Slater for this one, because last year he was so incredibly sick he could barely hang out and nevertheless do any rides. So we did our water ERT with him, and he brought a new good buddy for this trip.
Yeah, a good one.
Yeah, Brad Brinks, who is now an integrated part of our group. We did water ERT with him, and we did a lot of rides with him, including, I think, the log flume he did with you guys on that day. And then at Silver Dollar City for the meetup, you did a couple of different things with him, which was mountain coasters.
Yes.
Yeah, so you guys rode the Branson Mountain coasters together. So really cool to meet him there, and what a great guy, and instantly just gelled with all of us, so that was awesome. A number of other people from our group that will probably come to every single one. We had Dan and Ann Sue, and Dan hooked up again that second night, last ride of the night on Voyage, where he wins that bid at auction, which goes to charity, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we always love doing that. It's always kind of a special, kind of serene moment. Ann Sue, Beard Man. We met Ribs and Bacon from the Hollywood World podcast feedback and his girlfriend. So it was nice to meet some of these people in person. And it was a very cool moment where we met Lizzie and Nathan from the Seattle area, and they traveled all the way from Washington to come to Holiwood Nights, which I thought was awesome. And she posted on the Holiwood Nights feedback on Facebook, does anyone want any treats from our area? And I kind of jokingly said, oh sure, that would be great. And she brought a number of different candies from the area, and we are going to reciprocate that with some special things from our area. And it was great to meet them and just talk with people from all over the country. The Wilson brothers, of course, were there as well, and they bought the last ride of the night on Friday night on which coaster?
Voyage? No.
Oh, their favorite coaster. on their...
Legends.
Yeah, they are legends. And it was so neat because...
Yeah, it was Beardman's birthday.
Exactly. So even though they bought it, it was Beardman's birthday, and we were all singing happy birthday going up the lift hill and just laughing like absolute maniacs throughout that whole ride. So another special moment, and this event is just full of special moments every year, and that's what makes it so cool. And then Brian Costin, another buddy of ours who's a member of our group now, who also went to Silver Dollar City, and a number of others, I'm sure. No, Brian and Julie went last year, but not this past year, because they might have had a California trip. So it's always hard to leave Holiday World because it's just such a friendly, special place. But it was really great this time to finally meet Lauren, right? You remember why Lauren wasn't there last year?
No.
She was pregnant with her little baby, and so we weren't able to see her, but it was very cool to see her this year. And so we stay in touch throughout the season. Occasionally Paula and I interact just with small messages here and there, and we were so flattered when she emailed us and asked Andrew and I to be guests on the Holiday World podcast, especially with who the guest was the week before us. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was Taylor from Coaster Studios.
Yeah, who has, 100,000 YouTube
Subscribers.
We just hit double digits.
Wow.
That's crazy.
We're at like
10! What up? Bruh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy.
a record. We should celebrate.
Yes, we're gonna have a meetup just for the 10 subscribers to YouTube. But as right now, it's only our podcast episodes on there. But we are going to start putting some videos on there. So that is coming. So we're gonna go from 10 to 1 million pretty soon. Guaranteed
Yeah,
to you.
hopefully.
So that's pretty hard act to follow, but it was awesome to be on the Holiday World podcast since we've been listening throughout and we've heard every single episode. So that was very cool to do. And it turned out to be a really stressful day where we had that in the morning, and it's always a little bit nerve-wracking to be on a big show like that, especially when it's a phone interview and you're not really seeing the people you're talking to. But then that afternoon, you remember what we had on that
Yes.
same day?
We had an interview.
Yeah, we had a Skype interview, which was pretty interesting. A Skype interview with a Los Angeles casting director. Andrew Online Hyde from In the Loop had sent us an inquiry about wanting families for a reality TV show.
Yep.
And it was sent to a theme park group, but it wasn't necessarily only for theme park families. And it just said you have to be unique and interesting and different and have certain interests. And so we emailed the casting director, and she wanted us to send a little bit of information about ourselves and some pictures, and we had an interview with her, and it was pretty interesting. It was Melissa and I first, and then the kids came in afterwards. And one of my favorite moments from that is we had to say our names and then how old we were. And so we went in order of age, and then Alex went, and what happened?
He seemed to forget his name and age.
Wait, did he forget his name as well? I thought he remembered his name, he just forgot how old he was. I don't know why he was so nervous. It was just one person on Skype that we were talking to, and he made it look like he was live in the Super Bowl performing for the audience. That was rather amusing. But it was an interesting situation, and I'm glad we did it. And even if we don't get picked for this show, it was still neat to do, and it just gives us a slice of the entertainment life, as hopefully this leads us on to different things as we go. After we did our interview, we were in the car a few days later, and we started listening to the episode, but as soon as our interview came on, what did you do? When you were listening to the Holiday World podcast with us, the one with the other podcast. So we started listening to the Holiday World podcast with us on it, and then it came to our interview, and what did you do?
I don't know.
Did we listen to it?
No.
Why? Because you said?
No.
Because?
Because I don't want to.
Because it's too embarrassing, right? You're like, I can't listen to this. I don't think you've ever listened to an episode of ours.
We listened to the first 30 and then we just stopped.
Yeah. Well, we listened to the beginning of our episode and then the end, but we didn't actually hear our own interview. But it was a lot of fun to do, and hopefully it turned out pretty well. But it was a blast, and we're so happy that we were invited. And it was cool because we did a shout out in that interview to one of our favorite people on the podcast who's not even on the podcast, but an important member of the podcast, and a name that you say all the time. But you don't have to say it in your silly way. You can just say it normally.
Oh, Stephen Rutherford?
Stephen Rutherford. Even though that's not quite how you say it. You changed.
Rutherford?
Yeah, Rutherford, as you say. But we did a little shout out to him, and he reached out to us saying thanks. He's a technical part of it, and he had his own episode talking about drones and working those to take video of the park. So it was really cool. He's a really nice guy, so cool to make another connection there. But if he was for hire, we still wouldn't mind his help for editing. That would kind of be nice. Well, I just wanted to tell one more short little story. And we had a number of things written down that we wanted to talk about, but it's not always easy to get everything in. And the interview just kind of ended before we were able to talk about everything. So this is where you say, Dad, this is embarrassing, as you're holding your face and you're turning red.
Dad, this is embarrassing.
Exactly. So last year when we went for our first time to Holiwood Nights, we went to Splashin Safari. And if you've ever been there, generally they play mostly Beatles songs and a little bit of Beach Boys and kind of a medley of those too. And when we were first there, they played Tell Me Why, which happens to be one of my favorite early Beatles songs. I tend to like the middle years the best. And I heard it, I was like, oh, I love this song, and I really need to start playing more Beatles for the kids. They knew a couple songs here and there. And
Twist and Shout.
like Twist and Shout, yeah, and Hello Goodbye, a lot of those kind of bigger hits, but generally you just knew a few songs. So over the rest of that summer into the fall, all we would generally listen to were Beatles songs, and really it was about 5 months straight we just listened to every single album, and they really started to love it. And around that same time period he also started practicing guitar. So for the talent show in the winter for his elementary school, he decided to play I'm Looking Through You, which he practiced with his guitar teacher, and he was chosen to be the grand finale of the talent show, and he sang it and played guitar, and afterwards there was a big standing ovation and people were just
you're bragging.
there were people from town who weren't even at the show who were piling in the building.
No.
The news station showed up, and then you were on America's Got Talent, The Voice, and American Idol at once.
No.
Okay, not those things, but I wasn't kidding about the standing ovation. That did happen.
No, it didn't.
All right, and so it did. I have video evidence to prove that.
No, it didn't.
Okay, well, we'll see where I post
you can
that.
think that.
Okay. Anyway, Holiday World Podcast plays their degrees of separation game that the crew, Lauren, Leah, and Matt, are always so excited, right, when that game comes on. They're like, yeah, my favorite game ever, world, let's do this. And I just thought it was kind of neat to think that Will, his love of the Beatles, which still continues on at Splashin Safari now, playing the Beatles all the time, that it was Will who influenced this tiny little town in central New York that is 715 miles away, that his influence changed your life, music you like, and what you played at that talent show, and the standing ovation that you got.
No, it was not a standing ovation.
I'm going to show you the video evidence. And also, he played Money Can't Buy Me Love for his guitar recital a couple months after that. And so those two performances, I think, are just a really cool few degrees of separation and a little tribute to Will Koch, who loved the Beatles. So thank you, all of you at Holiday World, for playing the Beatles, which has in some ways changed our life. So I thought that was really cool. So thanks so much, Paula, Laura, Leah, and Matt, for having us on your show, and a cool return of the favor for them graciously being on our third episode ever, which to this point is still one of our most downloaded episodes ever. So we'll be recording our next episode soon as we continue our southern trip, looking at a park and a former quarry, and we hope you all are having fun at whatever Halloween haunts you're going to. And if you want to send us any interesting fall reports in email form or MP3 form, anything at a haunt that you think has been really cool, any rides that anyone of any age has gotten on that's kind of neat, you can send that to us at themeparkfamilies@gmail.com. So yeah, let us know anything that you've done this fall that's pretty cool. And you can hit us up on Facebook or Twitter at Theme Park Fam. Alright folks, I had to interrupt the episode for one quick second for a couple of things. First, we want to apologize for the sound quality of this episode. We wound up recording in a different location, so we recorded on a mic that's not our normal one, like the one I'm recording on right now. So thanks for your patience, and our next episode will be back to our normal microphone. Number two, Andrew would be so mad if he knew I was doing this, so this is recorded at a much later time. But I'm going to be playing that performance of I'm Looking Through You at that talent show, and you can hear at the end where he does get that standing ovation, which he refuses to admit. So if you wanted to skip through the next 3 minutes and you didn't want to listen to it, no big deal at all. And I'm just going to throw this in before we do our rhymed goodbye. So thanks everyone again for listening. Halloween is coming, and scare actors make you shout.
Not me. No, never. Maybe sometimes. Andrew, out.